Our first session this morning is a panel. Should influencers be at arm's length or considered part of your team? And do we have our panelists with us this morning? Fantastic. Good morning, Phil. Lovely to see you. Loving the show.
Brian. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm actually in Los Angeles. It's in 1 a.m. here, so this is my late night.
I was going to say, you're looking very sharp for 1 a.m.
Hey, thank you. I'm a night owl.
Night or a very early morning?
You know, I usually 2 a.m. is my bedtime generally, so this is perfect for me.
Dear God, I'm a morning person. I'm annoyingly perky. But after 9:30, forget it.
There we go. We'll never get along.
Okay, round about lunchtime, both sides. I think we'll be good. Fantastic. We have very nearly the full panel. So let me introduce everyone. We have Alex from Viral Talent, Phil, who we've been chatting to from Wormhole. Let me try that again. Wormhole Labs, Karolina from Gameset, and Karyna from HypeFactory. Good morning, folks. How are we all today?
Great.
Good. Fantastic.
Excellent stuff. Wonderful. Thank you all for joining us. So, Alex, you are moderating this morning's session, I believe.
I am indeed, yeah.
So I'm going to step back into the shadows and let you pick up. Is that all good?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, ready to rock and roll?
Ready.
Excellent. I will join you at the end of the panel. Good luck, folks.
Fantastic. Good. So today, key topic, should influencers be kept at arm's length or considered part of your team? Well, we all know now influencer marketing is now a staple part of every brand's PR and marketing campaigns. I'm the firm believer that there's always the right influencer for the right platform, but it's really understanding what the right platform is for the brand, and who is the influencer that's really going to drive what they're looking to achieve. But so I guess it's the age-old question of how do brands really work with influencers and what is the best way? I think everyone's got, their own opinions on how they feel this should work. But let's kick it all off. I think as we've probably got a mixed bag of knowledge in regards to people watching this panel, I think let's kick it off with, should brands really be using influencers, and what is the benefit to them? Should we go ladies first? Karolina, would you like to kick things off?
Thank you. Yes, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for this question, for starting this conversation. Well, I think we all here can agree that influencers are now a vital part of every marketing strategy. This is because they are very authentic. They help brands deliver their message and their business goals precisely to the target group they are targeting. And they are also very cost effective. Still, the rates are going up, but still they are very cost effective. And influencer marketing is not new in marketing. Before in marketing, we need some social proof. We need some key opinion leaders to help us boost our products awareness, and influencer marketing is just bringing this to the next level with the celebrities we now have, which are influencers. So yes, this is just an evolution and a vital one when planning every marketing strategy.
Okay, fantastic. Karyna, what are your thoughts?
First of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here and meet you all. I completely agree with the previous speaker, and just a couple of things I would like to add to this is just, I think we all agree that the influencers is mostly a tool, and the tool that can be a very good help for any large-scale advertising campaign. And all of the rest of the work is carried out until the moment like the brand or the agency turns directly to the influencers. And a lot of things stay behind the scenes, like weeks of strategy development, selection of suitable influencers categories, development of some creative mechanics, time plan creation, etc. So all this goes down to influencer as a brief, so where they can clearly indicate what they will need to do, what they need to share with the audience. And the main benefit from the influencers is, of course, the ability to natively show and share the necessary information to their audience. So at the moment, more and more people tend to trust influencers, their experience, their stories, like their passion to things they're doing, to things that they share to the audience. So, and exactly this is something that brands want to get for themselves and be a part of this process.
Yeah, I think it's really good what you highlighted there. It's all the behind the scenes. There's a lot of work that goes into it. It's not just a conversation, you know, a quick scan. There's a lot behind the schedule and understanding how they really want to promote it and the motivations. So there's a lot of effort that's going in from it, from selection right to the brief. Phil, great to understand, you know, your thoughts around this.
Yeah, I might surprise you because I've been working in the creator economy for 15 years, but I don't know if the word essential is right? Like there's lots of marketing campaigns that would greatly benefit from influencers. And I think that influencers are still wildly underutilized, but also you have to figure out who your target market is and how to best address them and how to best tell your story. And it's not always influencers, right? I mean, influencers also have a lot of difficult parts with them, right? Like sometimes they want a more trusted publisher, they want a more traditional outlet, or out of home advertising might be right. You know, there's no one size fits all for any brand and any objective. Now, am I somebody who's almost always going to push influencers on people? Oh yeah, right? Because there's communities and niches for almost anything, but I'm starting to get really fascinated by the idea of kind of self-sustaining communities and, you know, like the Group 9s of the world, like the Dodo, right? It's not really an influencer, but it's probably the most influential pets channel on all of Facebook. So would that be considered influencer marketing, or is that just kind of like traditional marketing on digital platforms, you know? So I here to say, yes, influencers should definitely be considered for every campaign, but it does not have to be essential for every campaign.
When you say that they're not being fully utilized, what could you give us a little bit more about that? Is there any sort of examples, or, you know, where you've seen brands not really, I guess, maximize the potential of their partnership?
Yeah. Oh man, I could write a novel on this one, but
we've got
I feel like
20
it's
minutes probably.
There we go. I'll take my 3 minutes.
Yeah, ready.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of brands are still treating influencers as a checkbox, right? And I think it's because a lot of people, they get used to the marketing strategies that they know. And paid media is easy, right? And it's a sure thing. You shoot a 30-second spot, you seed it in places, you demo target on Instagram and Facebook, and you can scale it to the moon, right? Influencers take a little bit more work. So that's why you see so much of this culture is like lazy product placement or 30-second shout outs where people are reading copy, and that I consider to be a pretty massive underutilization, because oftentimes they're spending the same amount of money they might get for, say, a fully bespoke product or something that feeds into the current narrative of the channel, something that could be really, really authentic and tell the story in a really smart way to the audience, is being replaced for something where they say, hey, do you like books? Make sure to buy books at this book retailer, right? And that's just not convincing anybody of anything. So, and also just in terms of building loyalty, in the same way you would when you're buying television advertising, frequency is very, very important. So doing one-off drops on a bunch of influencer channels is not always the best strategy, but it's the most often utilized strategy with brands. So I encourage everybody to find influencers you like to work with who are moving the needle for you, and do a year-long flight with them, so their audience really gets to know your product. They associate the product with the influencer, and then you know you're going to get loyal customers, instead of just like oh wait, what were they shouting out again? It was in the beginning of the video, I forget, moving on with my life. There, I think I got it in 3 minutes.
Perfect, you did. Very good. I'd say 2, so well done.
Perfect.
I think that's a good point as well, and I'd love to understand everyone's thoughts on this, because I think it's been something that brands have always asked the question: should we be going for ambassadors, or should we be going for, let's maximize everyone out there, let's do 15 at a time and all push the message at one point? Yeah, Karyna, what are your thoughts around that? What would you say to a brand?
It all depends on the marketing strategy, because you can it depends on the brand's goals. You can use many influencers, just as, for example, paid media, just to ask them to show the product, or you could have influencers as ambassadors, or, for example, you could produce a product developed with the influencer's brand. It all depends on what campaign are we planning, what are our business goals, what is our strategic positioning goal in this matter, because we could have a single-minded strategy that we want to, for example, position in a specific community on a long-term basis. So in that case, we would probably need influencers from that community to be involved with our brand on the long term, to keep our competition out of this area, to claim it to our brand. So it always varies on the strategy. Probably the most used solution is having a limited amount of ambassadors, or ambassadors that, for example, change each 3 months or each half year, and then a long tail of smaller influencers who just help you get the message across to other communities, but you have the main ambassadors who are for long term involved with the brand. This is probably the most often used solution, but this should all depend on a brand, on a product, on our marketing goals. So it's hard to answer that question in as a specific menu, what to choose from the very wide array of options we could work with influencers. But yes, if I could say just one, it's usually mixing ambassadors with the long tail influencers that switch over time, so we don't address the same message to the same community over and over again.
Okay, fantastic. Karyna, anything to add on to that?
First of all, as usually, agree. First of all, I agree that like influencers should be a part of some bigger strategy that includes other way to promote your product, your brand, etc., etc. It shouldn't stay alone, especially in case when you're a huge brand that and you think that it's easier to spread the information around using the television or whatsoever. So plus regarding the ambassadors, etc., I agree also that it's a really sometimes really hard job to work with the influencers, to communicate with them, try to make everything happen according to your ideas and the brief that you created before. Because when you're working with people, a lot of different things could happen, like everyone, there could be a good person or bad person, etc. And regarding the ambassadors, there could be some difficulties, especially, and you should be really careful when you try to choose the right influencer to your campaign, because of their such thing as the cancel culture. So this ambassador one day could tweet some very short word, show it to the world, and everything will be over. So one day he's the superstar and the best person in the world and everyone trusts him, and then another day he's the person of non-grat. So
yeah, no, that's a really important thing. And I think as well, it's then, I guess, following on from that, would you recommend if a brand had a choice of two that they'd really like to work with, would you recommend the bigger one who has a lot of reach and engagement that potentially has that sort of risk associated with him that you mentioned about the tweet, or do you recommend the one that probably isn't as engaging, isn't as big, but really good to work with, you know, is professional and there isn't that element of risk? Where would, I've gone off topic a little bit here to an extent, Karyna, but where would you go? What would you say to the brand, you know, if you were trying to direct where, you know, where they should be choosing the right influencer?
It really depends on, are we ready for some certain of hype that we could get if something will happen with the ambassador, with this big superstar, etc. If we're ready for that, is the brand, the idea of the brand will not get in trouble with this, so why not? Yeah. If this is the goal, if the goal is to reach the biggest level of the audience, so we should definitely try. And of course, it's all up to the agreements, contracts, etc. There are many ways to control influencer, and also it also depends on your professional skills. Yeah. So,
okay. Fantastic. And I guess it brings us to the point of, you know, what we're discussing today. You know, how would you recommend brands work with influencers directly? You know, what's the best way to do this? How immersed should they be in the whole planning and the campaign aspect of that? I guess, Phil, you know, what would you recommend is sort of the best practice? How should they be fully immersed in, or should they be immersed in the whole process?
Yeah, I mean, luckily we're about, let's say, 10 years into, you know, YouTubers being a thing. Let's say that started around 2012, 2013, right? Where brands actually started saying, okay, this is legit. Because of that, we've seen the funnel that a lot of brands have to go through. And I think that it's a logical one where first, they do a lot of direct reach out to little ones. They test the market. They see if it moves the needle for them. The ones where they saw it move the needle, then they'll bring on a huge digital marketing agency or a huge marketing agency that can help them scale that product. And then as it becomes more and more core to their mission, they bring all of that in-house and they leave the agency aside sometimes, or they keep working with a major agency, right? So I recommend people go through that funnel. Because if they want to test their ROI, you can test your ROI really, really efficiently, right? You've probably known what your paid media looks like. You know what, you know, your out-of-home advertising looks like. Like, you already got that nailed. So why not just say, all right, let's take an R&D budget. Let's take $20,000. Let's take $30,000. Find a really specific mid-tier influencer or 2 or 3 or 5. And let's see how much time they take, and let's see how directed they are and how much audience they move. And let's really look at our return on ad spend and consider it, right? I think most brands, when they start to do it that way, they actually really get into influencer marketing. The ones that fall out of it very quickly are the ones that go out and buy PewDiePie once and then say, okay, we just spent $200,000 on one video. How did it do, right? And then they judge all influencer marketing based on that one campaign, not realizing that maybe it got dinged in the algorithm because he said a swear word at one point, or maybe his thumbnail wasn't as good on that video. So yeah, I think that it's one of those things that has to be treated with pragmatism and experimentation. And there's no really wrong way to do it as long as you're diversifying your spend.
Okay, great. So it's more of a case of start off initially small, you know, take that budget, that experimental budget that you have, select a few and scale up from there and test. And then in that process, would you be dealing with the agents, or would you be keen to deal with an influencer planning agency? Or, you know, would you say, you know, see if you get that conversation with the influencer direct? What would you say the best way is there, or is there one?
Yeah, I think it depends on how much stress you're ready to take on, right? The reason why you can go through an agency, it's not like CAA in the 1990s where you can't get Harrison Ford unless you talk to the agent, right? Everyone has a business inquiries email in their Instagram and in their Facebook and their YouTube, right? So yeah, I mean, you can deal with creators front lines if you want to. You can reach out directly, but you'll have a low response rate and it'll be a pain. And some of them aren't great to work with. So if you build a trusted relationship with an agency or a management company where you know that they're going to help wrangle a little bit more, it'll take a lot of stress off your plate, but you might be giving up anywhere from 10% to 50% margin. So, I mean, it really just depends on what you're willing to do. I generally recommend people find a really professional agency to work with, just because you might have a bad taste in your mouth about the entire market if you pick the wrong 10 influencers to start with.
100% agree. 100% agree.
I mean, yeah, I mean, Karyna, if you want to carry on from that.
I just would like to add that probably if you are just starting your business and you're kind of a startup and you have very limited budget, you can try yourself. Like test the ideas you have in your mind, test this way, that way. Then you will win or lose. And when you lose, just come to the professional agency, ask them what they could offer to you. They will definitely offer you some certain strategy. And also they really know who probably will be the best option for you as the influencer list or ambassador or whatsoever. This is like something that you could start with. But if you are like a really huge brand and you have a lot of money and you don't have time or a department that can just run campaigns by themselves, then your obvious answer is just come to the agency.
Fantastic. And Karolina, how immersed do you think they should be?
When we are planning comprehensive strategies for our clients, because this is the main part of our business, designing comprehensive strategies, especially for non-endemic brands to show to position in gaming. And if in that strategy we have influencers, ambassadors who will be deeply involved in the campaign, in the strategy, we bring them in the process. We do workshops with them, with the client, because they have a lot of creative input. They very, very well know their audience, because, well, if they didn't, they wouldn't be influencers in the first place. They are people who have creative ideas all the time. They know how to create content that moves their audiences. So we are bringing them in the process. We are letting them shape how the campaign looks in a way. There's of course also the client and the agency, but they are involved in a very high level, and this is very beneficial for the brand, for the campaign, and for the influencers who are they are learning how to work in this professional environment. Before we said how important it is that influencers understand how to work with brands, that they behave professionally, that they understand that this is business, this is not just creating content for fun anymore, and we bring them inside the process, and they are a part of it as a, well, let's say, sort of outside creative team, and this has proved very effective and efficient in the past.
Fantastic. Love that you're doing workshops. I think that's really important, educating both sides, because sometimes there can be a clash because it's a new space. So that's brilliant.
They are workshops and they are creative sessions. So for example, once we have a strategic direction for brands positioning, we develop ideas how to spread the message. What specific campaigns will we plan? What influencers? How will influencer convey that story? And we do this brainstorms with the client, with influencers, with us as the agency and the strategists, to come up with ideas to help each side learn from one another. And this works really well.
Fantastic. That's great. Okay, for the sake of the audience then, where would you say the best platform is at the moment, and I guess the influencers to an extent, for mobile games, app developers to be on? What would you, if I was a mobile game and I was thinking, okay, well, where should I be going? Say my target audience is 30 to 35-year-old women. Let's just use, actually, no, let's not go target audience. Let's keep this quite broad. I want to keep it broad for everyone. for this industry at the moment, what platforms would you say they should go on? What's working well at this point in time?
I think it would be platforms that have mainly mobile traffic, so Instagram, TikTok, YouTube varies from channel to channel. Some channels have more PC traffic, some have more mobile, so it varies. And the platforms that can allow you to target precisely. For example, Twitch does not allow precise targeting when it comes to age. So this is somewhat could be somewhat difficult, but when focusing on conversion, those would be the platforms that can convert to mobile. But if we are still in the phase where we have to build awareness, it would be a mix of channels that correspond to the target demographic. So this is what I would say: a mix of awareness first, and then converting from the platforms that have mobile traffic mainly, and the specific channels that resonate with our target group.
Brilliant. Phil, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to tell the boring answer because I used to be an exec over there, but Facebook has a wonderful ad platform when it comes to conversions. So yeah, Instagram, Facebook, the family of apps, it just really works for mobile, and they've got wonderful abilities to plug in CPI campaigns, and it's cheap, and it's great. It's targeted, especially as you said, for 30 to 35-year-old women, easier to find on Facebook than a lot of other platforms. So, there's just more inventory there. However, if you're looking at kind of core influencer stuff, right, where it's like they're actual influencers talking to their audience, not always the best play to go on something like a Facebook, where it just feels like it's a little more media centric and the lean in is a little different. Instagram's great, right? Instagram stories has wonderful conversion for that stuff. But for mobile games, maybe not. For those, I really like to look at Twitch and YouTube. And Twitch, because the dwell time is incredibly high. So if you can get someone to sit down and watch someone play a mobile game, they'll sit and watch for a half hour to an hour, right? And they'll really get it in their brain. So if you have like an immersive game, or you're, Call of Duty mobile or Fortnite mobile, or like any of the wonderful RPGs or Dissidia or Apple Arcade stuff, yes, absolutely, Twitch is awesome. And then, of course, YouTube has that perfect mix of like deep influencer, longer form programming, but also really interesting ways to convert. Also really easy ways to ad buy. So you can run pre-roll before an influencer that's then an ambassador to your game. And it just makes for this really virtuous cycle as well. So yeah, I mean, there's different places for different things. I mean, I've run campaigns for mobile games on Pinterest, and it did great. So there's not really a one size fits all. It's just like, are you playing Wordscapes or are you playing like a horror game, right? You got to find the right fit.
Fantastic. Two things I'd like to just go into what you said there. Pre-roll. So would you, for everyone that's doing an influencer campaign, say on YouTube, would you recommend pre-rolls a fundamental part of the influencer sort of buy as such?
I think that it's an interesting part. If you're working with a company that's targeting on that level, or an MCN or something like that, that's able to get that reserve inventory and buy out a channel and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, it's really effective to say like, hey, Dragon Age, now make sure to download it now, and then cut straight to a video of this video is brought to you by Dragon Age, and now I'm going to go play Dragon Age, right? It's just a good way to like keep the story going. Is it necessary? No, but I think that it's an awesome way to like introduce somebody to environment with something a little bit more premium before they go into the user-generated content. Yeah.
And Twitch, that's interesting too. I totally get the storytelling part of it and the long dwell time and everything. But is there an argument that you might be extending the journey to download?
Yeah, it's not a great conversion platform, right? I mean, when people are watching live content, they realize that when they click away from the live content, they're missing something they can't go back to, right? It's really hard to convert from live. So yeah, I mean, it's really more of an awareness play. It's more of like a, let's say, stick in your craw kind of thing. Like if you're watching somebody play Elder Scrolls Blades for long enough, then you make the assumption that they're likely to go download it later, which is terrible for your data, right? Because then you're like, oh, I got 0 clicks on it, but they're not accounting for the lift that you get afterwards. But also in mostly kind of westernized countries, like in Western Europe and North America, there's not a lot of mobile gamers also, and there's not a lot of audience behind mobile games like there is in Southeast Asia and the Middle East and South America. So it's also what territory are you in? You've got to be tactical on that side as well.
Fantastic. Okay. Yeah. It's a lot of variables, and it comes down to, you know, quite a few guys, the points that you've made about the brief and the KPI. It's, you know, it's not one size fits all. Karyna, I'd love to understand your thoughts on this too, regarding sort of platforms. We've had sort of a mixed opinion here, so, you know, it'd be good to get a third.
Yeah, I can agree with some things that were already told. For example, that if you're looking for some creative integration that you want to share with the audience, you definitely should go on YouTube and do not work with the pre-rolls. No, it should be integration start somewhere before the 30 minutes of the video. Like the most effective way to present like 1 minute about your mobile game, for example. This is like from our experience as an agency. If we're talking about Instagram, that could work for a female audience, but not for the male traffic, unfortunately. It will not work at all because Instagram is still a platform for women with the female content, with the lifestyle and family and fashion profiles, etc. This is their main target audience for now. I'm not agree about the statement about the Twitch that it will not work for performance. If we're talking about, for example, games that have PC modification, not the mobile game, but the PC one. So if you know how to work with the correct mechanics on Twitch, you can definitely bring not only installs, but a good ROI. I will have a solo presentation a bit later today about the Twitch and the mechanics that we use there. And there is results that we actually saw during this work. So if you're interested more about this topic, probably could join me and we could continue this conversation in the Q&A session later. Yeah, so basically it's the platform, the way that you choose the platform that you want to go and the way you want to promote the game, it really depends on your goal, on the game, on the target audience, sometimes on the country that you want to go into. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. I'm aware of time, so I think I'll keep it with quite an open question. What's the future here? What's the future of influencer marketing? How do you see this market developing moving forward? Whoever wants to jump in, you know, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm horribly biased because I'm the CEO of a metaverse company, but I think we're going to continue finding more interactive and engaging ways for people to chat avatar to avatar. Kind of that Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft thing that was introduced is going to be kind of more of a cost of doing business with that immersion. And then how does content play within 3-dimensional space instead of 2-dimensional space? So am I going to be wearing AR glasses and then seeing experiences plastered against walls as I go out in town? Or am I going to have more social experiences within games where the influencers exist within games and then are also promoting other things? So, and then I'm also really interested in Web 3.0, NFTs, holograms. There's so many things right around the corner as we get to 5G connectivity, and everything's moving faster and lighter and cheaper, that you're going to see over the next 10 years technologies we can't even imagine right now hitting mainstream.
Fantastic. Yeah, the whole NFT game is crazy. There's some agencies making some big moves in that space. So, you know, it's always going to keep moving. Karolina, what were your thoughts?
Yes, I agree with Phil about the great potential of the metaverse. One of the reasons why this has such great potential is that it is engaging. and immersive. And I think in the times when our attention span is shortening and there's more and more ad clutter, brands have to find a way to engage their consumers. So they engage through influencers, who in turn engage their audience. But I think a great trend would be something we are already doing right now. So having the audience shape the content with the influencers. And as I mentioned before, with the freeway workshops, we work in influencers to shape the campaign. So it all comes down to a point where the content we produce, the branded content is more engaging, is more tailored to the needs of the influencers. This will work great on big influencers, but there's also another side to the story with the small influencers. There are more and more solutions how to automate their content. So this is something I see. I have biased thoughts on this, but it seems to work, but only for small influencers, for campaigns that aim for limited reach, but on a very limited budget.
So you think it's more, you'd be encouraging the micro influencer approach, but more utilizing a platform in order to streamline the process, because who wants to speak to 200,000 micro influencers and timings and everything? I can imagine that's pretty stressful.
Yes, it's really helpful in that way, but this will not reach a certain level of massive communications the massive influencers can get.
Fantastic. Karyna, final thoughts on that side of things?
Yeah. So I think that everything is just moving away from the static images to in favor of the video content. Like TikTok literally made a revolution during this pandemic time. Everyone is so obsessed with the format they use, with the video, with their recommendation that you can just scroll all day long and see all these entertainment videos. So their main competitors, such as Instagram, come up with the Reels and try to do something with the influence that TikTok has now. Also YouTube with their shorts videos, using superstars to promote the platform, such, for example, as maybe you heard about the BTS as a K-pop group. So yeah, it's definitely moving to this format. It will be I think it will be very popular in the near future. The entertainment short content, straight to the point, no matter what category you are coming from. It could be just funny videos about cats, or funny videos about your hobby, or funny videos about your job, etc.
Okay, brilliant. I'd love to, if there's any sort of questions coming through. Brian, coming back in.
I'm
Brian.
here. I'm here. This has been fascinating, guys. There's a great amount of information coming out of this morning. This is not an area I've done an awful lot of work in, so I've been making notes furiously, and I think there's been some fantastic knowledge bombs dropped this morning. We do have a few questions coming in from the audience. So the first one is, are we seeing a move towards more long-term relationships with a focus on results-based performance?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, to say it in short, as people get more comfortable with influencer marketing and they understand their return on ad spend, you're seeing people who buy an influencer, realize the return on ad spend is great, and then keep rebuying them and rebuying them and rebuying them. And you're seeing things like Dr. Lupo and his State Farm partnership. And I mean, yeah, they're realizing it's easier. It cuts down on a lot of the work of having to restart a new campaign every single time and building loyalty within the fan base. So yeah, you see a lot of it now. You're going to see a lot more of it in the coming years.
And I think that was something that came through the last couple of days on some of our other tracks is there's a growing demand for authenticity. You know, people are looking for something that's real and true. So that absolutely speaks to that. The next question is, are there any developers out there that you're aware of supporting one or more of their own team members to build their own influence and audience? So growing from within, perhaps. Open to anybody.
There are such companies. I don't know game developers who are doing that, but I do know other brands. There are brands that are sell gaming peripherals and gaming equipment. I know some game developers actually discourage that, worried that some information might leak in an uncontrolled way when the influencer, for example, is streaming and is talking with his audience. So I know some who are discouraging that, and I think Twitch is a good example. Also not a game developer, but Twitch is actually encouraging its employees to stream on Twitch, to build their own audience, to be a part of the community, because they are all about the community. So there are some companies, actually, I don't know game developers. I assume they are game developers, but I don't know a specific example of one.
Yeah, the main one that comes to mind is like Ronnie 2K with 2K Sports, right? He's got the, like, you know, a lot about him. He's got his shoe collection. He plays with all the coolest athletes. And yeah, I mean, I think that kind of feeds into the Rockstar CEO thing we're seeing, where like every company needs a face that exhibits their personality. So you're starting to see more of those employees take that. But generally, it kind of lives on the splashy executive level. I haven't seen a lot of people doing it on the, like, let's get a community manager to do it, because the scale's just not there. It'd make a lot more sense just to go get influencers.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
And I have seen it in the past. I think it may have been done by accident, in all honesty. But you know, I was meeting with one of the product managers there, and then you know, 2 years later, he's then taking pictures with guys at their expo, and he's become like a Twitch influencer. So I think it's a great strategy. I think there needs to be more time as well for brands to actually focus on building their own social platforms through working with influencers and developing usage rights and having that, because that's the most important thing. You know, own your own communities. And I think that's going to be more prevalent as we go on.
Mm-hmm.
Great point, Alex. Thank you. And final question before we jump off, folks. Are there opportunities to reach beyond game-specific influencers, i.e. sports, hunting, food, etc., where it's relevant to the game? And are there any good examples you can offer?
Yeah, I think especially in the mobile world, like we did one with Dude Perfect. When I was at Mob Crush, we did Dude Perfect campaign for PUBG Mobile, got 30 million organic views. And it was great because they've got young male audience members who are the kind of people that would play PUBG Mobile. And they did PUBG Mobile IRL. So it kind of showed off dynamics of the games in real life. And it went super viral and it was great. And also on the more casual games, right? We did at Studio 71 did Roman Atwood with piano tiles through Cheetah Mobile, and because it's more of like a family game, and he challenged his audience to play it and send in their scores, and that went really well. So to be honest, when I look at gaming campaigns, I look at kind of core gamers as your way to like show the dynamics of the game and get people addicted to those. But I see in terms of acquisition, I like to go after non-endemics a lot of times.
Well, as somebody who is, I tend to have my second monitor on, and I watch a lot of stuff outside games and food channels and UFOs. I'm not proud, but I'm not going to deny it.
Sure.
And there have been quite a few campaigns I've seen. Sam the cooking guy, and there's a whole bunch of people out there with a decent audience who have been roped in, but it never really sits quite well, and I think it misses that authenticity that people are looking for. So it can be hard. It can be hard. Anyway, listen, folks, I could go on all morning. It has been genuinely fascinating. Thank you so much. What a great panel and a great way to kick off. Unfortunately, we're out of time, as you'll have seen. Karyna has kind of dropped out because she's up next, flying solo. So I'd like to thank you all, Karolina, Alex, Phil. It has been genuinely wonderful. Phil, take some downtime, see if you can relax, get some sleep.
I'm going to bed.
Hopefully, good plan. I wish I could do the same. Thank you all so very, very much. I look forward to seeing you at a future Pocket Gamer Connects. But for now, we'll sign off. Thanks, folks.
Cheers, guys. Great to meet you all.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye.